Tyrannosaurus rex is one of the most well-studied and relatively abundant dinosaurs known to paleontology. However, within the T-Rex research sphere, a debate has raged for decades concerning various fossils that have been alternatively labeled as young juvenile T-Rex or as evidence for an entirely different species known as Nanotyrannus. One of the problems with settling this debate is that these juvenile specimens tend to be more fragmented than their adult counterparts, making comparison a lot more difficult. However, a recent study analyzed a new specimen dubbed the Dueling Dinosaurs, unearthed in the Hell Creek Formation, Montana. The specimen contains the complete bodies of a ceratopsian and a small-bodied tyrannosaur interlocked in battle. However, the small-bodied tyrannosaur, which was once believed to be a juvenile T-Rex, has now been confirmed to be something completely different. For nearly 4 decades, small tyrannosaurids have been discovered in the Hell Creek Formation, with debates raging on whether these are juvenile T-Rex specimen or something else entirely. For instance, a small skull was designated Gorgosaurus in 1946, but was later reinterpreted as a diverging tyrannosaurid and given the name Nanotyrannus lacensis. However, many strongly oppose this classification on the basis that the supposed Nanotyrannus exhibited a combination of characteristics typically seen in juvenile tyrannosaurids. It thus had to be a juvenile T-Rex. These juvenile T-Rex fossils have been used to model T-Rex behavior and development. However, if the hypothesis is true that these juvenile T-Rex fossils are not actually T-Rex, much of what we think we know of paleontology's keystone species may be wrong. In an effort to end this debate, researchers Lindsay Zano and James Napoli recently published their findings on the new, exceptionally preserved complete Tyrannosaurid specimen recovered from the Hell Creek Formation, named NCSM 4000, or the Dueling Dinosaurs. The specimen was composed of a nearly complete skull, a complete backbone, shoulders, hips, complete forearms, and a nearly complete hind limb. Based on the growth rings, spinal fusion, and other developmental traits, the researchers estimated that the individual was around 20 years old when it died, making it an adult. The researchers compared it to over 200 known tyrannosaur fossils. They found that it had various interesting features that it shared with other highly contested juvenile T-Rex fossils that made it more likely to represent a Nanotyrannus than a T-Rex. For instance, the manus, or the hand, had finger bones which were much longer than any known Tyrannosaurus individual, including the largest T-Rex ever found. Similarly, the hind legs were notably elongated. Other key features that differed were the positioning of the nerves, sinuses, and blood vessels, which simply did not match up with T-Rex fossils. The position of these anatomical features is established during embryonic development, meaning while the dinosaur is still in its egg. Every single known living reptile and bird shares these features, with nerves, blood vessels, and sinus positions all being established and maintained from the embryonic phase into adulthood. And yet it would seem if these fossils were indeed juvenile T-Rex, this would be the only known instance in the entire evolutionary tree in which these features differ, with nerves relocating, sinuses disappearing, and blood vessel pathways shifting only in their juvenile stage. Based on everything we know, this would be a developmental impossibility. Additionally, the newly discovered and highly contested fossil also exhibited 35 tail vertebrae, a significantly smaller number than T-Rex fossils, which typically have between 40 and 45 vertebrae. Having 5 to 10 vertebrae missing, and that only during your teen or juvenile years, is simply unheard of. It seems that features typically called juvenile features of T-Rex were actually primitive characteristics that the Nanotyrannus species inherited from earlier tyrannosaurids. With all this evidence, the researchers could confidently say that fossil NCSM 4000, as well as other so-called juvenile T-Rex fossils, were actually Nanotyrannus specimens. A phylogenetic analysis was also conducted to determine where in the evolutionary tree of life the Nanotyrannus fit. It was found that the possibly when the Western Interior Seaway split North America into eastern and western landmasses. The finding not only turns what we know about Tyrannosaurus on its head, but also suggests that there was significantly more predator diversity at the end of the North American Cretaceous than previously thought, supporting the view that the dinosaur ecosystem was thriving, not declining, right up until the meteor hit. This was Archaeology Tea House. If this video was your cup of tea, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to never miss a video.